Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I just wanted to do a product review concerning some sequins that I've just recently received. They came from a company in Australia called Sequin Bazaar. Great little website. So just so many options on their website of what you can order, right, even through to beads. But I don't have many sequins, and the ones that I have are like ones I've had since I was probably 15, and they're just brightly colored colors, and to be honest, I very rarely use them. So I wanted to build up my supply of sequins and sort of pick tones that sort of suit my work today. So that's more neutrals and softer tones. That seems to be where I'm heading with my colors. And if I do something bright, I've got the ones I've had for years, and I did pick up a mixed pack in amongst this order just to give me a few other little options. So what I thought I'd do is I'll just show you each one so that you can have a little look at what is available on their website. And I did order a little bit of everything. So let's get started, and we'll start with all the colored ones first. This little pack is the apple green, the pink, and the teal. So that's a pretty common color combination that I use. So when I saw that, and I thought, well, how easy is that? I don't have to think too hard. I can just grab those out and I'm ready to go. They're a little bit smaller than those ones, and these are quite plain, where these are quite faceted, so just an interesting different finish. Then I went for some little flowers. These are, I think, quite common around the place in the $2 shops in little packs, but I wasn't quite sure, so I just ordered a dozen of them just to sort of see what they look like. And there's two pinks in there, a pink and a bit of a purpley pink, with a little hole in the center. So I should be able to bring my needle up through the center and potentially pick up a little bead, go back down through that center, and then that would pop a little jewel or a bead in the center of those flowers. So then I spotted these little rings. Not entirely sure what I'd ever use them for, but they were quite interesting. There's some clear crystal ones and some purpley tones, and then pinks and a little bit of teal. So yeah, very interesting little piece. Who knows where they'll turn up. I'm sort of thinking the center of a flower, and then embroider beads into the center of the flower. That becomes the ring around the center, and then take the petals out from there. That's the first thing that popped to mind when I saw those. So that's the brightly colored fun ones. So I'll just put them to one side. The next thing I did is I had a look at green. Because I do a lot of floral work, I sort of then picked a heap of different green options. So this little guy, he's a faceted gem, and he's like a emerald color. Really pretty. It's got two little holes. So up and down to stitch him in. And potentially like a button, I could do 3 or 4 stitches from it and have that coming out at the very end of the stitches to add a leaf to a stem. But a really pretty soft emerald green. I would take them out of the package, but I think I will have them go everywhere. So I hope you can sort of see the colors there. But might be best if I leave them where they are until I get them into the storage container. Then staying in the greens, this is just a brighter green, and it's a teardrop. And just a few, just to see what they're like. I didn't want to go too crazy because it might be something just sits in my craft box for the next 10 years and I never touch it. So just a little sample of a few things. And in that same color range, just some tiny little ones. Tiny little, 2 little holes either side, but a really pretty green. Then I started thinking about leaves and if I'm going to embroider some. So I started looking for shapes that were more of a oblong. This is a beautiful leaf. 2 holes, once again. It's concave or concave, depending which side of the piece you want to have a little look at. but real emerald green, and there's a texture on the back that nearly reminds me of a beetle, the back of a beetle. So they would make beautiful leaves. Really happy with those. That's probably my favorite so far. This one, so-so. It's probably got its place. I'm sure once I start working a piece, it might slide in beautifully. It's got a pearlized finish, nearly a iridescent wash over it that brings in the yellows and the golds. I wouldn't say I love it. That's probably more my color, but you never know. That's the thing with needlework, especially if you're doing a bird or a butterfly or a dragonfly. Sometimes you just need random colors to sort of build up the piece that you're doing. So that was the green, and then I spotted these little guys. Fantastic little leaves, and they're a real apple green with an iridescent sort of tone to them. So I'll bring them up to the camera. I think they'll be fantastic. There's no holes as such like these others, just a hole in the center. So they should be pretty easy to sort of apply to work. You're not having to line your needle up with a tiny itty bitty hole. So that's the selection of green, a few gems, a few different sizes, and then a few leaf shaped pieces in different colors. So I'll move those to one side. Then, because I do a lot of work with dusty pink, I started looking at some colors there, and I found a real soft pink sequined, very faceted, very pretty. So I bought a nice little cluster of those. I think I'll use those a lot. Then I went into what she called a plummy sort of color. It's quite, on the camera it's looking quite dirty, but it is a plum. A port wine. Oh, it's not really the port wine to me. It's more of a burgundy. This is like a dark, dusty rose. They're quite pretty. They're very small, these ones. They're smaller than the pink ones I just showed you. And then I got the matching little flowers. These guys, oh, I might have to open them so that you can see the shape of the flower. Wish me luck, because I think this could go terribly wrong. Oh boy. Feeling nervous. One out. Oh, we're good. I'll pop that on my hand so that you can see. So it's just a little flower. Whoops. Little flower, faceted in that dusty pink. So quite pretty. I'd probably definitely add a lighter, maybe a pearl or a crystal to the center. Oh, I managed to get it back in and there was no disaster. Yes, that was a close call. So those little flowers, I'm picturing needing a little white or a pearl to go into the center of them just to sort of lift them up. So the next color range I went for is a real champagne. I use a lot of champagne because I use a lot of calico and linens and natural colored laces. So just to put a bit of a sparkle into pieces, champagne is my go-to color. Not the real goldy golds, but more of a warm gold. So I'll just lift those up. Just a little pack of sequins. So love those. Then in the champagne tones is this little pack of gems. So I'll just hold them up. They were called champagne, but they're nearly a yellow, a very soft yellow. So just beautiful. But just a few of them because, like I said before, I don't know if I'll ever use them. You just never know. But to have a bit of a range of bits and pieces, and then have the business card of where you ordered them nearby. So if you do a piece, you sort of feel confident then to order, 100 or 50 of them, depending on what you're doing. Okay, the next range I went for is gold. As I said, I use a lot of champagne, and I was sort of looking for some more golds. So these two are similar to the green. So there's the leaf that reminds me of the beetle, the back of a beetle, because it's so textured. So there's the gold. It's got a dark champagne, and there's a little leaf like the little green one. So creating some floral treatments, some little leaves or feathers as I mentioned in a previous video, I've got a block I want to start working on. I've pieced it out and I've sketched in an owl. So I'm sort of looking for things that are a bit feathery. So I'm thinking these might appear on the owl. So that's those ones. And then this is probably a similar but smaller little leaf. Would make really good little feathers around maybe my owl's eyes, but I'm just not sure. It's sort of a dirty champagne, really pretty. Then these little flowers, tiny itty bitty little flowers. I might have to get one out. Here we go. We're going to risk it. Let's get this open. Oh boy. Why do we get so nervous when we're undoing packaging on beads and pearls and sequins? Oh, here we go. One. Careful, steady. Here we go. Tiny little flower. Boy, that'll be a nightmare to embroider. But I'll go a little bit close. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Is the camera going to focus? Tiny little faceted flower. Boy, it'd be pretty. But a challenge. We'll get him back in before there's a disaster. There we go. We did it. Done. So that's the darker golds, if that's the best way to describe them. Then I went back into the champagne colour range. So let's have a look at these two. This is the little sister to that last little flower, but slightly bigger. Be a lot better to work with. And more of a champagne tone, so probably more suited to those. Oh look, there is quite a difference in colour there. And yet it's not quite that champagne. It's an amazing colour and how different colours can be. But with embroidery, it pays to have a bit of a range, because sometimes the changing of colour and adding in something a bit darker and lighter brings light and movement into your piece. And faceted items, whether they're gems or pearls or beads or sequins, allows light to bounce around your piece. So often I find my piece might look very flat, and I add in something sparkly and it just comes alive. And even just adding a little bit of white can do that as well, especially if you're doing an eye of a bird or an animal, a human. A few little French knots of white can really add a lot of dimension to your piece. So the next few pieces are still in the champagne range, but getting a little bit darker again. These are quite large little flowers. They're just gorgeous and they're glittery. Love them. She had a few colours in this little category, so I might have to go back and get more of those. But we'll see. We'll see how they embroider. They might be a nightmare to embroider because of the petal and, yeah, I don't know. But they certainly look interesting. Then the next couple are that what I call a tinny gold, real yellow gold. That's a faceted little gem with a couple little holes. Then there's a little flower. Gee, they look a real greeny gold on the camera, but they're not. They're not as yellow as that one, but they're very pretty. And they're sort of, the petals go up, so you could seat into there some French knots, colonial knots, or some beads if you wanted to put a pop of colour through. Now there's hundreds in there, and they look like they stick together, so there's probably even more than I think in that bag. These guys here were just a little bag of some random shaped flowers. They're quite pretty. I think I've seen these before somewhere. Yeah, they're quite pretty. They'd be even good if you made a charm to go on the side of a junk journal. You could have the beads coming down to it and a little flower on the top or the bottom of your cluster of beads. So they've got huge potential. And the last piece is this little guy. It's like a little flower, but it's nearly a cup. So can you see there's a bit of depth to it, like a little crown? Be great sitting on top of a bead, but I'm thinking embroidered and then fill the crown up with little little beads. So that's my order. I try to refrain myself, but tried to also do a few different color waves, from the tinny gold to the softer champagne-y golds, a bit of a dirty gold that led into the plummy pinks. That really doesn't look like that on the camera, but it is a plummy mushroom, actually, now that I think about it. I think she called it mushroom pink. So if you turn over a mushroom and that color on the inside of the cap, that's what that is like. Love those. Soft champagne. Then a couple pinks, a few little gems, then some colors, and then some greens. So that's sort of how I put it together. Probably the only color there that I wish I had picked up was some blues, from the turquoises, jades, those sorts of greeny blues into some royal blues, but maybe next time. The last thing I grabbed, and she didn't have a big section, was some trims, and this one caught my eye because I love that denim-y French blue color, and then it's got the gold embroidery along it. Not sure what I'll use it for, who knows. I'll just pop it in my collection of braids and might find a little piece comes off for something. But it's like the back fabric feels either like a rayon or a silk. It's a bit hard to tell. It's got a real silky, shiny feel to it. So very pretty. And she sells those in 1 meter lots, and I think there was about $4 or something. So that's pretty reasonable. We have Spotlight and Lincraft here, so it's on par with those guys. And I think some of these items I've seen in packs in those places as well. But of course, you've got to buy so many. So this is a really good way of just getting a little sprinkle of some bits and pieces. So I can highly recommend Sequin Bazaar. I heard about them through Sarah, through Roxy Creations by Sarah. She's an Australian girl, and she mentioned this particular company. I'm not sure if they ship overseas, but it'd be worth popping them an email to have a bit of a chat to them, see if they will. Now, storage-wise, I know you may already know of these containers, but if you don't, this is what I use. It is a Elizabeth Ward storage container for beads, sequins. So I love it. I think this is my 4th one now. I had beads in containers for years, every different type of container, different size, and some of them were starting to crack because they were so old. And then I spotted this container on Rachel's video from Roxy Creations, and I thought, wow, this is just going to organise my life. It's got 2 clips on the side, which are really sturdy so far. Clear lid, so you can clearly see what you are doing with all your beads. And then these great little containers, which sort of have a pinch point where you can pick them up just like so. And then a little clip here that you just open with your nail, and then bend back the lid. So really easy to let it sit on your workspace and pop a needle in there and just keep picking up your pieces. Because they're long, it's really good to thread a needle through your beads. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to get that lot into these containers. I'm sure it'll go very well. We'll see. So then I'll have them all sorted, and as I need them, I can sort of view the colours and pick them up as I need them. Okay, thank you very much for joining me. That was just a quick review of Sequin Bazaar's offerings of sequins. Like I said, they have beads and trims and all sorts of treasures there. So if you are looking for a few bits and pieces to add to your stash, I recommend popping them a quick email to see if they ship overseas. If not, for all the Australians out there, they're great, lovely. And you can have a easy flip through their website. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining me. I will leave it at that, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.